So, what are we talking about today? Well, let's see. Let's see, shall we? Who am I? Well, let me start here. Like I said, Tabiso, Sfundo Mncube, umfana waseMaritzburg, umfana waseKZN. Should I say when I was born? Well, I'm a born free. Let me just say I'm a born free. I'm not as young as I look. So yeah, just know that. Um, so I was born and then grew up, in a very ordinary home, very ordinary family. Didn't really grow up with my mom, didn't grow up with my father in front of me or anything like that. Grew up with my grandmother. She actually raised me, I would say. Um, had my older brother there as well. Had my cousin as well. Two of my cousins actually. I had one older one and one younger one. And then I had my uncle. Um, my mom would visit me here and there. Um, yeah, pretty much that's it. And I don't really know my father at all. All I have of my father is, I think, one very distinct memory, and I think I'm going to tell you guys about it a bit later on, though. So yeah, let's go back to rather my preschool, if I can still remember. Do I even remember? I don't. I don't actually remember much from my preschool, but primary school. I remember I went to primary school starting grade R in the year 2000. So know your maths. You can probably calculate how old I was, but it's fine. So grade R, I remember crying at the gate when my mom brought me to school for the first time and she left me. I remember crying for her like any other person, I think. Ngifunde eSinombo Public Primary School in Bali. Did my grade R through to grade 7. Yeah, a lot happened in between. Should I get into any of that? Oh, yeah, I was a happy child, I would say. I was a happy child. The reason I say I was a happy child was because I was active. I was a dancer. I didn't know what I was doing, but I remember doing about kwasa kwasa, about toilata, you know, all those things because I grew up watching Jam Early, about Jam Early. We would have all those things on TV, so you learn to sing and dance. So I was active in that sense. And in every occasion, like in primary school, I remember when my grandmother had I think a farewell party, esuka from one hospital to work at another hospital. Um, and I remember one of the ladies or one of the grannies then besitshela ukuthi bacela ukuthi sibadansele, me and my younger cousin. So I remember we were doing it kwasa kwasa and everyone had a good time. We had cake. So I would say I was a pretty happy kid, normal kid, hyperactive kid, always helping umakhelwane, in the neighborhood. When I would see umakhelwane put plastic, maybe put me down or something like that, I would always rush to help them with their plastics. Be like, hi ma, it's ngikubambele, ngikubekele egate-ini ungcono yabo. Then I would take the stuff, just put there, and then I'd be like, okay, ngizogada, and then I would leave. So I was a really happy child growing up. I really was, until a certain point in primary school, and there was in grade 6. Yeah, it was grade 6, 2006. That's when I lost my mom. So when I lost my mom, that's when I felt everything that I knew about the world switch and change. Because by this point, I had already lost my father.
So how old were you when this
happened? Now I want me to expose my age. I was 12. I was 12 when I lost my mom because I remember I lost her in August 2006 on the 12th. the 13th actually, on the 13th, yeah, on the 13th, and we laid her to rest on the 18th. So it was like a 5 6 day period in between. Um, so the reason I say things switched when I lost my mom is because I remember on the day that I lost my mom, that I found out that my mom, is no more. Um, my uncle actually found me. I was sitting in Bagweng, you know. I was sitting there just trying to rationalize what I was thinking, what I was feeling. And I was like, am I never actually gonna say ma, in my life? I'm never gonna ask for my mom. And I didn't have a phone at the time, but amazingly, I thought I'm never actually gonna have phone conversations with my mom. That's the one thing that I was looking forward to the most as I was growing up, because she was never in front of me. So when I found out that she's gone now, there was a problem. So I was sitting in Vagwendlo, my uncle came through and he's like, no, Zobarati, if you need anything, corner, we're there. Your grandma is there. I'm there for you, Um, so yeah, I think that's when things start to actually sink in, and sip into me and be like, okay, things are gonna change now because you're gonna have to fend somewhat by yourself. I wouldn't say it was too too different, or too difficult. The reason I say that is because actually I'm gonna expose myself here. But when I was in grade 6, I think I'd already started dating. Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing. I just know I'm nginentombi, and we've never kissed by this point. It's always been on my hugs, and walking her home from school, stuff like that. Um, so when I lost my mom, she actually was next to me still. She was like, no, it was all right, she was caring for me. And I had good friends in primary school. I remember my closest friend at the time was Untlantla, a friend of mine called Untlantla. Shout out if you see this, bro. Untlantla Ngubane. He's the guy who saw how the loss of my mom actually hit me hard. He was there. He actually introduced me to soccer. The following year, of course, because I didn't play soccer that same year. I started playing soccer when I was in grade 7. So he had introduced me to playing soccer. I had started watching soccer the previous year, but I hadn't really started playing soccer. So him introducing me to playing soccer, that gave me kind of like an escape, not to deal with things a lot. I just had football to escape to and release, because we had training Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, you know, and then Fridays and Mondays we wouldn't have, training. But
So wena noNhlanhla benifunda nonke.
yeah, we were in the same class, Nhlanhla, and we were close, like we were really, really, really close, Nhlanhla, and yeah, man. So fast forward, I get into grade 8, high school now. I'm in high school. Um, so me being in high school, Akona, primary school was a Lokshin or township school, So it's all Zulu speaking black kids, Asikas. Then I go to high school, and high school is Indians mostly. And then I want to say us Africans, or I want to say abantu abamnyama. So the dynamic kind of started to change because now I had to speak a bit more English. And in school in Saselokshini, where we didn't speak much English, but I had to, kind of. And so nalapo, luckily for me, I had a few friends from my primary school who we went to the same high school together. And we found each other on the first day at assembly. We're like, oh, naula, oh, naula, naula. So transitioning into that kind of life actually kind of made it easier because I wasn't the only one from Gagiti. So I had a few people. I think I had 2 girls and 3 guys or 4 guys. So it was like 6 or 7 of us from my previous primary school together. So we kind of clicked for a while together until Lona and Loyo found their own friends and we started to drift apart after like a month or so. And then, found a good circle of friends, and the excitement and the joy that I was feeling in high school made me want to be at school more than I was at home. Home life, things were not. I wouldn't say sogola. Like we were not poor. We were okay. We were okay, and us being okay. Remember, the only person that I have, Mina, to ask for stuff is my grandmother, and at this point, she's close to her retirement. So if kukhona imali anayo, afuna ukusenzela something, kumele enzele mina, my younger cousin, my older cousins as well.
Or was she the only one osebenzayo endlini?
Not really, bekhona nomalume, but I don't know how much he contributed. I just know ukuthi all the weight was on my grandma, because she would often tell us as well ukuthi angeke ngikwazi ukunenzela nonke, but I kind of have to, ngibhalansise lapho nalapho, because she was also buying food, groceries, school fees ngapha, transport yakhe to work and back, and all these things. So it was a bit too much for her at times. And then at some point, my brother had actually went on to do his varsity. It was called DIT at the time, but yeah, it has since changed igama kwaba DUT. So it's what you know is DUT today. My brother went there, excited, Devon Institute of Technology. So ekhaya it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either, because sithe masikhula gogo mangabe ekwazi ukusenzela something usenzela sonke. But then my younger cousin, because uhlala nobaba wakhe, which is my uncle, and then he still had his mom who's staying somewhere else. Whenever he would go visit his mom, he would come back with new stuff, new clothes and stuff like that, and would tell us about, it was so much fun going there in. And those words hit me. And him coming back with stuff hit me, because I couldn't go to my mom and be like, yo, manje, ishu mountain mountain. And most of the time when he had those new things, he would give me his old clothes so that he would make space for his new clothes. So imagine someone younger than you giving you my hand-me-downs work. How can you condition yourself to be able to do that? So it was those little things, until I started clashing now with my uncle when I was in grade 10, grade 10 or grade 9. We started clashing, and when we started clashing, we clashed on a lot of things. And the reason why I say it's a lot of things, because he had switched. He wasn't a religious person at all. He was this fun uncle, he would have a drink or two here and there, sometimes would come home, not himself, not sober, He wasn't violent or anything, but he was just fun, We enjoyed having him around, and he would have a cigarette here and there, So we knew our uncle was chill, was laid back. Somehow, somewhere along the line, between the time I was in primary school and when I was starting high school, he full on switched, was sonta, like full blown sonta, and we were so convicted into it. And usonta enkonzweni la khona izongicindezela khona in a lot of things. What that was and how those things were, in the next episode. I'll see you.